Bash in Berlin is done, and now we've got Bad Blood. So let's talk Hell in a Cell, let's talk Wyatt Sicks, and let's talk Roman Reigns as a new tribal chief stepping up to a brand new champion. We're going to run through the whole card for Bad Blood, detailing backstage plans as well as who's going to be there and who's not going to be there. It's a Triple H card, so I'm laying out 5 matches, most of which are going to be championships, some of which are going to be inside cells, and there's going to be a few notable omissions. We've got some information on people who are literally being labelled SmackDown champions rather than PLE champions as well, and a couple of people who literally just aren't making the card because the mid-card to compete with just aren't strong enough. Forget the mid-card for a moment though, because for the opening match I have Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Not Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. SmackDown is moving to the USA Network in the weeks to come, and they need big money moments and big money matches to justify the wage and earn their keep. What better than the planned match between Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa as a main event, knowing that Roman Reigns has already been internally advertised for a return. This, with Cody and Roman on the same side, seems the ideal moment for the retention of the Ula Fala to actually take back the tribal chief name, at least temporarily, from Solo Sikoa. OTC, naturally, in helping Cody, earns himself a championship match. Now for Bad Blood, I have Solo Sikoa getting in Roman's way, and we head pretty much immediately into War Games and Bloodline Civil War. But for now, Cody Rhodes needs big name matches, and you don't get much bigger than the OTC himself, Roman Reigns. It'll be overbooked, it'll be hell, and Cody Rhodes will win by shenanigans, but he'll still win, and another win over Roman looks even better on the scorecard. There are no plans at the moment for the Wyatt Sicks to make any appearance on the Bad Blood card. In fact, there are no plans at the moment for the Wyatt Sicks to appear on any PLE card, not even a vignette or any suggestion there. As far as Triple H and the creative team are concerned, they are still being established on Raw. That's why they're still working with Chad Gable, and they're still working out what the Wyatt universe is going to look like. Don't expect them to pop up on PLEs anytime soon, particularly before they actually finish up their feud with Chad Gable and his American maid. We move to the Women's World Championship now. Liv Morgan defending one-on-one against Rhea Ripley in Hell in a Cell. And I say one-on-one being very generous and giving a lot of benefit of the doubt. I do think this is when the championship does change hands, Rhea Ripley regaining the gold en route to what I suspect might be a rematch with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, but it's been a very good run so far for Liv Morgan. That said, I'm also not certain here. I do think it's also possible Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley happens all over again at the Royal Rumble, but what I can say with confidence is that Hell in a Cell will not be one-on-one. Damian Priest and Finn Balor are still waiting for what's going to be their WrestleMania date with Destiny, and I think they'll be involved here, but the biggest name that we're definitely going to see involved is Dominic Mysterio. What we didn't see at Bash in Berlin is a Riptide to Dominic. It's still coming, it's still waiting, and if there's a cell involved, it might well be through an announce table, because why the hell not? I have Liv Morgan losing this one, Rhea Ripley regaining the gold, and off she goes towards WrestleMania. The Women's WWE Championship is not likely to be defended at Bad Blood. They tend to rotate more on the outside of the big 4 PLEs anyway, but there is a lot more focus on Morgan and Ripley right now. As regards Nia Jax, she did have a brief feud with Michin, and there is a feud that they can return to with Bayley, but by and large, Nia Jax is expected to be a quote-unquote SmackDown champion, at least until the return of Charlotte Flair, when her feuds can really kick into gear. In the build to this, and also primarily on SmackDown, we're likely to see Bayley versus Tiffany Stratton. That's a feud that's being talked about as we speak. In general, when it comes to the mid-card, and that includes the women's division and the US title division on SmackDown, we're not really seeing people stepping up ready for the big PLE spotlight. More on that later. The Intercontinental Championship will be decided in a bout between Bron Breakker and Jey Uso. Jey Uso seems to be the guy who defends against new champions non-stop. Damian Priest was the guy previously. Jey Uso will soon be moving into that War Games match and the overall Bloodline Civil War feud. So this creates a great opportunity for Bron Breakker to renew the rivalry of Steiner versus Samoan. I'm excited for this one, and this will be long term, culminating in Bron Breakker versus Roman Reigns a while down the line. Jey Uso's job, much like Sami Zayn's before him, is to make Bron Breakker look good, to further establish that he's effective and to further establish that he's a heel. We're supposed to just forget what happened at Money in the Bank, and to be fair, we're all going to. Answers in the comments if you can remember pretty much anything that happened at SummerSlam. Bad Blood has nothing for LA Knight. While LA Knight picking up the win over Logan Paul was expected, it was originally expected at WrestleMania and was pushed back. With that in mind, they did have to rewrite a lot of the feuds based on where people are now compared to where they were then. It is creating a bit of a confusion, and while LA Knight is going to be a fighting champion, we are once again waiting for the mid-card to step up to his level before they can really throw them in front of a PLE crowd. At the moment, LA Knight has no real guaranteed feud, though I do think a date with Kevin Owens will be available in the near future as well. Gunther may have main evented Bash in Berlin against Randy Orton, but I don't expect him to main event here, and I don't even expect Randy Orton to be on the card. Instead, Gunther has a kryptonite to deal with. His last loss was against Sami Zayn at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship, and while he moved up, Sami Zayn had a short-lived but overall effective championship reign. The gold is now gone, so he's looking for something new, and this is a great pivot away from the Intercontinental Championship, to accept his loss but go after something bigger that unfortunately he won't be able to get a hold of. For me, Gunther, being the champion that he is, needs the big names, and Sami Zayn is way up there. In addition to that, I've mentioned that Kevin Owens getting a World Championship match is part of negotiations for a new contract. Sami Zayn also signing a new contract, or expected to be signing soon, so a World Heavyweight Championship match is very much in keeping with that overall theme. Gunther has a chip on his shoulder and red in his ledger, and he needs some revenge. Sami Zayn is the perfect opponent for this. This entire pay-per-view is basically built on believable challengers who aren't necessarily going to pick up wins. Your Jey Usos, your Sami Zayns, in many ways your Roman Reigns, all built on credible threats. Unfortunately, they're not credible enough. Speaking of incredible, there are still continued plans for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill recently re-won those championships from Alba, Fyre and Isla Dawn, and it looks like Fyre and Dawn are the number one contenders again, but there's a little more to it than that. The plan essentially is not to have a 2-on-2 match, but to have a 2-on-2-on-2 match. Damage Control was supposed to finish that match very differently to how they did, if not for Kairi Sane picking up another injury. She's had quite a few of them now, and she was checked thoroughly for concussion. The intention was Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Damage Control, that being of course Io Sky and Kairi Sane, versus Fyre and Dawn. That match could still happen, but I'm waiting on an update as regards the status of Kairi Sane, because there are a number of people in WWE who weren't that excited about bringing her back because of her injury history. With that in mind, and based on Triple H's usual proclivities, I would imagine this match takes place on Monday Night Raw before Bad Blood rather than Bad Blood itself. This leaves us with the main event, and we are going back to Hell in a Cell. This is a culmination of a feud that gets better every single week. Every time CM Punk thinks he's got this sorted, Drew McIntyre returns and beats the ever-living hell out of him. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell to main event Bad Blood. We're heading to Saudi Arabia after this. A few people aren't going to be there for the show. I'll be interested to see if CM Punk goes to Saudi Arabia. There's history there. But in addition to that, I expect Drew McIntyre to take a few weeks off after this match, after particularly losing to CM Punk. There are rumours, but it's just speculation at this point, of Punk taking on Gunther at War Games. That'll be another loss for CM Punk, but the win over Drew McIntyre would surely help him with his recovery and speed him on the way for that. This match will be brutal. This match will be great fun. This match will be bloody hell. And when it comes to Bad Blood, all we've been waiting for this entire time, since that very first showing and that very first Hell in a Cell, is a match much like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels, where there is carnage, there is blood, and there is an absolute demolition job by the end of it. Personally, I think after the intense screwing that we've seen CM Punk deliver to Drew McIntyre, I think this will be the payoff. This will be the climax, and we're all going to finish very satisfied. Next week we're going to talk War Games in a lot more depth, but if you want to know more about CM Punk and Drew McIntyre's plans for WrestleMania, click the video on the screen right now.